Hey everybody, I am back to do the second episode of Castle Rock, Netflix's newest original show. I'm here to review the episode. I really enjoyed making the first episode review yesterday. You can go back on my channel, go back to my previous video, and it'll be the first one. It was a great opener. I really enjoyed it. So many questions, and we got to get right into this review because they packed a lot of stuff in here. Something I'm noticing with Castle Rock is we don't have long, just one scenes. They jump places a lot. We jump to different years. We jump around to different parts of Castle Rock, the town, to different characters. I'm waiting for an exciting, really good dialogue-driven scene. Not that we haven't had that, but just a long, really good scene, an intense scene. I'm really waiting for that. So we got a lot of things to talk about. I'm just going to say I may go out of order just because it's easier to talk about certain things when we find out more about it later in the episode. It's just easier to talk about it at the moment. So this video, of course, will have spoilers. So if you have not seen the episode, get out of this video right now. So we're going to get right into it. This episode was entitled Habeas Corpus, which is a legal term about, I had to look it up. I have a full year of 2 different law classes under my belt and still had to look it up. I had no idea what it was. But basically it's like an unlawful detention or imprisonment where you're trying to determine if whoever's being held in detention or captive or imprisonment, if it's rightfully so, if it's valid that they should be in prison. So that's basically I'm guessing we're either the kid at Shawshank Prison right now or his imprisonment when the warden was keeping him down in the bunker. So don't really know all the details quite yet, but let's get right into it. So got some notes. That's how serious I'm taking this show. I got some notes. So first off, the opening jailbreak, the jailbreak scene that ended the first episode, we pick up directly from there. We get to see the guard, Zelowitsky, I believe is his name, looking at the monitors. It picks up exactly where it left off, which I was really happy with. But it was not all what it seemed. The kid, I'm gonna call him that. That's what they call him for the show. It's the prisoner, but most people, everybody character usually just calls him the kid. We don't know his name or anything. We don't know how he got in the prison. He had made all that up made the guard see it, made the guard think that he was murdering all these people. He hits the prison alarm. A bunch of the guards and officers come out, guns ready to go, and Zelowitsky ends up almost shooting a guard because he was so startled by the person behind him. But it was just, it was nothing was going on. It was a false alarm, so obviously the kid made him see that. So we're learning a little more about his powers. I guess he could just make them see stuff. Obviously there's going to be more to his powers, but I was happy with that. I actually told my brother after we watched the first episode, I had a theory that I thought that's what was going on. So I was right about that, so I was pretty happy with that, because usually when I make a theory for these kind of shows, I'm not even close. I'm way off. But yeah, we learned a little more about his powers, so that was cool. The whole episode, the old warden is narrating it. He's basically talking about how the town is just stained with everyone's sin. There's not an inch of this town where someone, where he can find someone sinning and such. Basically, he talks throughout the episode about a plan to capture the kid, to capture the devil, and it's not necessarily God's plan, but he says a lot during the episode that God, the skies opened and God talked to him and told him what to do. So I didn't know really what to make of it. He was saying it wasn't God's plan, but he was saying God was telling him all this stuff. So it's interesting. It's weird. I don't know what's going on so far, but he basically, just said. He talked a lot about death, and they showed multiple people committing suicides in these horrific way at the beginning of the episode. The old warden's brother, when the old warden was on the football team in high school, there was a game where he got tackled really, really hard, and it looked like he was hurt. And the crowd was real shaken up and worried about him, but he says the crowd should have been worried about my brother the entire time. His little brother had climbed up on, I guess, some building near the football field, and he was dressed up as the school mascot and jumped off and killed himself. So a lot of suicide goes on in this town. It's pretty crazy. Next, we see Henry Deaver. He kind of talks his way into going into the old warden's house. His wife's blind. He says that he's suing Shawshank Prison to get inside her home and try to figure out what's going on. He looks through the old warden stuff in his office, and we get a lot of Stephen King references. So many references. This episode was like a huge reference to Stephen King novels. I mean, they really from the title font all the way to the warden's office, the newspapers, the articles, the newspaper clippings he had. We got Cujo references, we got Needful Thing references, just so much stuff. It was really cool. It was really awesome, actually. So, the Henry finds these verses of the day calendars, like a bunch of them, and they're all on the same verse. They're different dates, but they're all on the same verse. And the verse is from Acts 16, I think chapter 16, verse 33. And it's, even at the hour of night, the jailer cared for them and washed their wounds. Then he and everyone in his household were immediately baptized. I don't know. So basically, the jailer obviously has to be the warden. He's probably cleaning the wounds of the kid, the devil. And I guess he thinks if he does this, him and his wife and his family will be safe, and he doesn't have to worry about it. So many things are going on, man. I'm just so confused. But the wife ends up figuring out who Henry Deaver is, and she basically tells him there's a special place in hell for you because, he always tries to get off the murderers that he's always representing and the people on death row. But before Henry is forced to leave the house, he sees the basement, and it's locked up. It's got a big lock on the door. So obviously, something's not going good in the basement. What's down there, I'm sure we'll find out later. Something not good, though. Let's be honest. Next, Alan Pangborn, he goes to this bar where the new warden is sitting at, and he basically starts talking to her, basically rambling on about the old warden. She's not interested in the least bit. She could care less. But he's basically rambling on. She gets up even to leave, and he says something about the old warden finding a young boy, finding true evil. And it was basically like back in the day when Alan was still the sheriff. He saw a car racing by, he flagged it down, and when it was the old warden. And the old warden basically said he had finally figured out what was going wrong with Castle Rock and how he could stop it. And he had found the devil, and he had locked him up. So before leaving, Alan says to the new warden, you better not let the kid effing out of that cage. So that got real interesting. Alan knows what's going on. It's pretty crazy. I didn't expect that. He has some big connection, and we find out a little more at the end. Of course, I'm going to get to that part. Next, we find out a little more about Molly Strand's character. We didn't really know her. She was kind of like a weird, it kind of seemed like a drug addict. Or not a drug addict, I guess, but she was buying drugs from a kid at school. She's an adult, and she was in the first episode, but nothing really came of her. But we find out much more about her. She was the boyhood neighbor of Henry, or the childhood neighbor of Henry. She still lives right next to his house, but she had a big crush on him, writing his name and her name and his last name in the journal 100 million times, like all us girls do. So she was doing that, and basically one of the nights that he had gone missing, that he was gone, her mom comes in when she's really young. Her mom comes in and brings an officer. The officer kind of suspects that she knows exactly where Henry is. And so Molly has the covers full on. You only see her eyes. She's terrified. She looks like so scared. He basically asks her, if you know something, you have to let us know, or this could be not your fault. But he kind of like induces that. So she says she doesn't know where he is. He thanks her. He leaves. She pulls the covers off her and breathes heavily, and we see some like fog coming out. Not fog, but a cold air coming out of her mouth. So she looks like she was out in the cold. She talks about with her sister earlier in the episode, she has these like psychic like delusions or something, or like not powers, but something like psychic ability or something. And obviously it looked like she was out in the cold. So unless her room was freezing, I believe she went somewhere and she knows exactly what's happening with Henry. So I don't know where Molly Strand fits in this, and she has powers, it looks like, too. This could get weird. This could get really freaky really fast. So we're going to move on to the second half of the review. I'm going to try not to waste too much of your time. I hope you're enjoying it so far. We still have a lot to dive into. Alright, so Henry is basically investigating what to do. He ends up figuring out the guard that called him. He meets him at a bar. Or he doesn't meet him. He kind of runs into him. He knows that they go to that bar. And he talks to this weird lady, Jackie Torrance, who knows a lot about the town. She basically tells him Castle Rock's no longer on the map. And she talks about his history. She wants to know if he did end up killing his dad when he was out in the cold. She even wants to see his feet to see if he froze froze off like 3 of his toes. She wants to know about that. Jackie Torrance, the Torrance name should ring a bell. That is, of course, The Shining. Jack Torrance is the main character. So we gotta look out for this character. Nothing too big is revealed with her so far in this episode, but I feel like she's gonna be a huge part too. So basically, Henry ends up meeting or having a meeting with the guard in his car, and they talk about how basically the guard knows something's up. He wants nothing to do with it. Henry wants him to come on trial, but he doesn't want to even think about that because his wife's pregnant. He only has this job. He can't lose this job. There's nothing else for him, so he's done. Which kind of sucks. I wanted to see more of the guard. He seemed like a cool character, and I don't think he's in it that much after. I think I saw on IMDb he doesn't have that many episodes, so that kind of sucks. But basically, Henry basically says, I need proof. I need to know that this guy is in here, that this prisoner exists. So basically, the officer says, you need an act of God if you're getting in that prison. They're not letting you in. And so he gets an act of God, not a real act of God, more metaphorically. He finds this church that goes to the prison, and they sing to his cellmates, they sing to the prisoners, they read the scripture verses and stuff. So he is basically smuggled in. He's using them as a way to get in and figure out what is going on, which I thought that was kind of cool. So the new warden needs this prisoner. She needs him out of here. She doesn't need this weird guy on her hands. She needs to get rid of him. So she gets her assistant to move him to the cell division. Usually he was just in a container by himself, but now they're actually moving him with a cellmate. And his cellmate is not a nice guy. It's not like me. He's the opposite. He is got Nazi tattoos, tattoos all over his body. He looks like he could murder anyone so quickly and make it so painful. He's a scary dude. He was actually, I read on a review that he was reading Lord of the Flies, and Stephen King got the name Castle Rock from Lord of the Flies. Lord of the Flies is a fantastic book. Read it if you haven't. I love that book. But apparently he was reading it, so that was cool. So he basically gets real close up to the kid, the new prisoner, his new cellmate, his new buddy. He gets up to him, and the kid whispers to him, "You do not want to touch me." And the guy he's like, "Oh, that's a challenge. All right, let's do this." So later on in the episode, the guards find him just lying on the floor, and they do an autopsy and see he had full on raging cancer going all through his system. They were surprised he could even walk without falling down or in pain. So more about the kid's powers. Obviously, he gave him some type of cancer, and he did it super fast. He shouldn't have touched him. He really shouldn't have. So we end up finding out that the warden, as he's narrating the entire episode, it's a letter. It was Alan. Alan has it, and he's reading it in his car, and the entire time the whole letter was the narration. So at the end, it basically says that he needs the warden, I guess, or Castle Rock specifically, needs the defender to protect Castle Rock. And I guess they're hinting at Alan being the defender, and he does not look like he wants to be. He ends up burning the letter. This is interesting. This is getting really cool. Alan's going to have to obviously do something. He knows about the kid. He knows about how he's locked up in the cage. Obviously, he's heavily connected with the warden, and he knows his past, it looks like. This is weird. This is creepy. I have so many questions. And last but not least, the dog from the beginning, right before the warden committed suicide, just drove off that cliff. He saw a dog. That same dog ends up going through the woods because they said it was on TV when a character was watching that they never found the warden's body. And the dog ends up finding his body, his head sticking out of the ground. So how did his body get there? It should have been in the lake. I do not understand that. That's weird. It looked messed up. So that's how the episode ends. The dog finds the body, and so many questions, so many Stephen King references. I'm really looking forward to getting into the third episode. It's the last one until next Wednesday, which sucks. I'll probably watch it, I think, tomorrow. I wanted to watch it tonight, but my dad has something to do. My dad, brother, and me make a nightly thing out of it, so we're going to wait till tomorrow, probably. But this is getting good. I'm really excited. It flew by. It felt... I didn't even think the first one felt long, but this one flew by. I was like, I can't believe it's already over. But I can't wait to watch the third episode. It should be really good. Let me know your thoughts, your theories, everything down below in the comment section. What the heck is going on in Castle Rock? And please, no spoilers on the third episode. I have not seen it. So thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this review, and I hope you learned something, or maybe you caught something that I didn't, or maybe I caught something that you didn't. So just thank you so much for watching, and as always, have a great day.